Peace family is 19 Keys with HMPTV, your source of sovereign consciousness. Tap in.
Peace, love, and light, brother. Blue Pill Report live and direct to you. We are here with HMPTV, and you know what this is about. Helping my people. TV.
Yo. All of my people, we got this. We must unite, it's composing. But it must be hard to think outside the box when a man's got his way up to boxes. Put the puzzle together, the bigger picture. It's like understanding the Arisha. When you're telling the future with the speaker, is it poison we're sipping on elixir? Turn up, engage your senses, take in the moment. The situation, instead of living up to expectations. What God, what's good, what you telling me? Give up the greed and jealousy. Clean up like a herbal remedy. Serve up rhythm and verbal therapy. M to the E, I'm getting high off life. Keeping the L to the O, W's all of the time. Keep on shining, putting the grinding. Gold in your mind and you better be minding. Everything fall into place like rough, fam. It couldn't be more perfect timing. Love, cry, don't be shook to ask why. Wrong, right, one man's truth is another man's lie. Dark, light, always bounded by space and time. Oh my God, are you a concept of the mind? All in the mind, all in the mind. It's all in the mind, it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind, 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 it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. Physical body in space and time, but that doesn't include the mind. What about the soul? Did you want to know material life? Who knows? But I know that facts don't lie, but facts are only facts in your mind. In fact, it might just be a man disguised. Yo, bumped into my brethren on road. Last time I saw you was time ago, but I was thinking of you like an hour ago. Coincidence? Nah, that's powers, bro. G.O.D. resides in her head, you and me. One day, trust me, you will see. Take control of the reality. It's all in the M-I-N-D. Yo, even if you have to slave away, love yourself in every single way. Train the mind and pay the price to play. Build that dada, decode the mind just like a programmer. Know that there's gonna be snakes, you're on the ladder. It's all mind divided by matter. Yo, oneness, duality, paradoxical, reality. Humble, keep planning G's, it makes sense, insanity. Okay, true, okay, cool. Sometimes I let man think I'm a fool, so they don't know I've got this powerful tool. Love, cry, don't be sure to ask why. Wrong, right, one man's truth is another man's lie. Dark, light, overbounded by space and time. Oh my God, the human concept of the mind. All in the mind, all in the mind. It's all in the mind, it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind, 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 it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. Yeah, I like the energy.
So this is Dean Okai with HMPTV, and we're blessed to have Red Pill in the building with us. Now, Red Pill will give us an insight as to his territory in the States, and we'll give you the best insight into our territory in the UK and see where we fall into common ground, because the whole purpose of my spirit and your spirit conjoining physically is to eliminate the skills and knowledge gaps.
That's why I'm here.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what's stuck out in your mind in the many politics that go. The US is a daily basis. It's not even a monthly basis. So if you give me a recap on your week on what stuck out most for you in terms of us not really reaching our potential at the late stages of 2019.
From an American perspective?
From a US perspective.
Well, one of the most glaring examples of where we're at as a people and where we're at as a nation and where we're at mentally is the Amber Geiger case, right? The Amber Geiger case and the aftermath of the case highlighted the disparities or the bipolarity of black people in America. Mm-hmm. She gets found guilty by a jury, right? They deliver the justice that black people have been denied for years and years and years since they started what we identified as a soft war and a propaganda campaign based off of fear and abuse, and a psyops, a psychological operation that has debilitated the movement of quote-unquote melanated people in America because of police terrorism, white terrorism, or white inferiority masquerading as white superiority. So the justice that was escaping us for decades, damn near, it was delivered by a jury in Dallas in a guilty verdict for a murder, not a manslaughter, a murder of an innocent man who was murdered in his home by somebody that I highly suspect knew that man and probably had a relationship with that man. What took place afterwards is a perfect analogy of where we're at.
Psychologically and spiritually.
Amber's neck was in a noose because of a guilty verdict, and she was facing between 5 and 99 years, right? Not for manslaughter, but for murder. And something unprecedented took place that has never happened on live television. Let's just take stock and let's take inventory. Let's take inventory of what we're witnessing. Because the news cycle goes so fast that people gloss over things. No, you saw on live television globally, because this was not just broadcasted. It wasn't a local case, it wasn't regional, and it wasn't national. It was international. The black bailiff, after the guilty verdict was announced, you turn from citizen to inmate, right? You're a convicted murderer. In courtrooms in America, the minute that they announce a guilty verdict, handcuffs get put on you. Immediately, the court officer turns from your friend, because they'll talk to you in the hallway like, I think you could beat it. And that's off code for them. Like, damn, you giving me your personal, you supposed to be, like how they got the guards at Buckingham, you supposed to be objective, and your role is to inflict fear. You're a authority of power. You belong to the court system. There is no court. The court is wearing a blind. There are no friends. There's no touching of hair. There's no coddling. There's no communication before the verdict. And then after the verdict, it is completely out of. It's unprecedented that you would see the court officer stroking the hair, right, of this convicted murderer. And then to just continue, this social experiment that we're all witnessing, and we have to take away our emotions. We just got to look at it for what it is. The next day during sentencing, because when she was rubbing her hair, was not sentencing.
Conviction.
It was conviction. The next day is sentencing. The next day in sentencing, the slain man's brother was on a stand. And in his testimony, it was about character witness, right? So you get up there and you speak for the slain brother. You have nothing, if you want this woman to rot in jail, you have the right to say that. I want her to rot in jail. I want her to pay for what she did. Apparently, she was not innocent because a jury did not decide this time to allow her to walk, right? So she's a convicted murderer. The brother said not only did he forgive her, in the middle of his, he doesn't think that she should go to jail, and in the middle of his testimony, he asked the court permission to embrace her. This is a convicted murderer, right? Never before have I seen melanated people break rank in between a sentencing and say, I want to hug a melanated killer of my family member. I want to hug the killer of my mama. I want to hug the killer of my daddy. Peter Parker, I want to hug the killer of Uncle Ben. It doesn't happen like that. But once again, we saw our Achilles heel on display and the insanity of what it sounds like and looks like in that case, because people will judge that man and go to work and endure all kind of racial, disparities, and then be all forgiving and want to hug their boss, hug the help. It ain't even it might be the European worker in the goddamn mess hall, the janitor, and you will see the compassion of our people, which they're saying is compassion, and I'm saying is fear.
It's also the indoctrination.
Which,
what we
yes.
saw was the proxy of. It's always the proxy of. Sorry.
Yes.
It's always the proxy of Jesus. They replace Jesus with Europeans based on, and especially Christians. And the man said, take Jesus into your life. I don't want you to go to jail. Speak on that psychological neuroses that we have in the Jesus complex, in the white Jesus complex.
Well, I was going to get right into that, because what we've identified, what we can identify taking place before Jesus was even invoked was Stockholm Syndrome. Okay? And it's not just the brother of Botham Jean. This is taking place in Africa. This is taking place in the UK. This is taking place in Australia. This is taking place in Jamaica. This is taking place in Panama, Trinidad. This is taking place in London. This is taking place in Texas. This is taking place in New York, Boston, Atlanta, the Black Mecca. They still, it's massive. And then the brother invoked what I say, or what I would say, what I would go on record saying is the biggest, not just an Achilles heel, but what has shown to be the malware or the virus
100%.
that has completely inflicted our people to be in a state of cowardice, to be in a state of fear, to be in a state of idol worship, to be in a state of self-hatred, to be in many different states that do not serve our best interests. That man is a victim of one of the greatest illusions being played out. There's an illusion, right? They say that we live in a matrix. I'm red pill. So my job or my duty is to deliver or disseminate pills and pull people out of the matrix like Neo did. Well, here it goes. One of the biggest illusions that take place in this matrix, the reason why this matrix functions the way that it is because the illusion of what they call white superiority. The European has mastered through 3 institutions or 3 avenues his power plays. I would say 4. Religion. He made you the curse. Race, Ham. He made him the chosen people when we know that it's the other way around. If he gives you the concept of God being a man, a physical being that's on a cloud with a long beard watching you, then by proxy, and then they made Caesar Bourgeois through Constantine and whatnot, and they redestined the image of Christ, right, as Caesar Bourgeois, a white man, a European. Then the chosen, if a man who was born in the Middle East has pink skin and looks like a surfer, a hippie, by proxy, his people are what? European as well. And we know, just common sense, that that's not what they told you in that book. So by usurping the image of Christ and his father as Europeans, by proxy, their nation becomes chosen, blessed, highly favored, and grace is bestowed upon them. So wherever they go, they lead with that. In his name we will conquer. Remember, in his name we will conquer. Jesus, Christ. Or not even Jesus Christ in some places, just Jesus. But they're not going to give you Christ consciousness. There's a difference. They're not going to talk about the Christos. They're not going to talk about Christos Negros. They're not going to give you the black Christ. They're not going to talk about Christ consciousness. They're not going to say that, no, that's a parable. That's an analogy. It's about Christ consciousness. It's about activating the pineal. It's about the God within. It's about the Holy Trinity within. They're not giving you that information. They're giving you, in his name, we will conquer. They're giving you the cross, and they're giving the European, Hellenized or Romanized version of, quote unquote, Jesus Christ. And that there is the anchor or the capstone of what I call the great illusion. The great illusion is an illusion of superiority where one people who are a recessive, an expression of a genetic recessive, an expressive, it would be called heaven's cup, the spillover of that. So the vessel of life was filled up with genetic superior genes. The spillover of that is a being who is documented to coming on this planet very late in the game. Case in point, how he's late in the game, he's still defining and he's still giving names to shit that he's finding right now, and the planet is billions of years old.
So on that point, I just want to say something quickly, because we know we still betray our children by putting them in the indoctrination system to Europeanize their minds, so the program will be fully uploaded. Let's move past that now. Where do we get codified to now start to separate the indoctrinated from those who are awake? And when we say awake, I'm not talking about what you know, because you can know academically, but I say knowing is doing. So if you're not doing it, you don't know. You can read any of these self-help books, and you can tell me anything. If I can't see it manifest in your life, you don't know. You know academically. You may know all of the traits to make a millionaire, but you don't know. So now those that know must do. And to me, that is in us forming code. Now, how should those, with delivering humanity to our brothers who serve them, because treachery is high, based on is socially and economically rewarded. But now we have a clear line in the sand, especially from this demonstration, that those who know must demonstrate by separating from those who don't.
Well, first and foremost, you know, this is a lifestyle movement. It's going beyond the part of what you know. That is an era, and that era is over. This is the era of the knowing. We live in the age of information, but we also live in an age of experience. So it's about doing. God is a verb. God is not about what you know. God is a verb. It's an action verb. It's called doing. Consciousness is a verb. It's to do. So it's called Godding, right? When somebody is Godding, that means that they're in their God. They're in their. You could read a book about mountain climbing, then you could climb a mountain. It's gonna be two different conversations. Your hands will tell the story, and when you speak, it will be from a point of experience. So when you speak about your melanin, when you speak about your consciousness, when you speak about your intelligence, you're speaking about it not from a place of speculation, you're speaking about it from a place of manifestation. You're actually actualizing it. You're magnifying it. And going back to the earlier question, because I didn't want to get, I'm going to answer this question, but I have to finish up the last question because it ties into the question that you're asking. We have to put into context what happened, when did it happen, and how to reverse engineer it. You understand? The quote-unquote illusion is the center. That's why this war is not about picking up arms. This war is not about subjecting yourself to violent means, because you're going against a nation, or you're going against a species of people who are basically, they operate off a frequency that they can't express anything but war, right? Your advantage is that you can express something higher and more divine and more spiritual than quote unquote physical warfare. the fact that you are naturally intelligent, when you are aware or awoken to who you truly are, when you wake up out of the spell, when you find out who you are, not to act like you're more superior, but to act like you're more superior, but to know that you're more superior, but to know that you, yeah, knowing and doing, and to move like that. Knowing is half the battle. Told you that with G.I. Joe. Doing it, and to do it, that means that you're gonna attract those who are on the same frequency. You're gonna vibrate. That's right. So as magnetic people, because the key to anything that we do is to stay magnified. I'm on a magnetic grid right now, right? I'm in the UK, but I'm a more in antiquity. So I'm tapping back into a grid, a magnetic grid that my DNA is very familiar with because we walked these lands before. You know what I'm talking about? We walked the lands of Africa before. We walked the lands of South America. We walked the lands of North America, Northwestern Mexico. That's why when a group of us go places, we put in what is known as this work, and it charges the magnetic field. And the fact that our people are falling out of favor with their ancestors and they're falling out of favor with nature is because they're being demagnetized. 5G, the foods that we eat, the fact that we are vibrating to this frequency of this illusion that's not real. This is a minority people who are basically declining in their birth rate, they're declining in their influence, they're declining in their power. The proverbial time is up. And these people are...
The mortality of their women.
Huh?
The early mortality of their women is also on the increase. European women in their 30s are dying without explanation. To increase that with the birth rate.
You're hearing these catchwords called global warming and climate change. That's all propaganda for population control. You know, their time is up, and that has nothing to do with what we feel personally. This is nature at work. They're at war with terror, and terror is T-E-R-R-A. They're at war with the planet, with terra firma. They're at war with the sun. They're at war with the goddamn water, with the oceans. They're at war with clean air. So you're dealing with somebody that is operating on a mission. They have an inbred mission that's opposite of your inbred mission. One of the things that will begin to happen when you become magnetized, and when I say magnetized, I'm speaking about what Dr. Sebi spoke about with plant-based diets, electric foods. I'm talking about protecting yourself from the 5G with the tourmaline, with the sacred crystals, with the copper in my pocket. I'm a conduit of energy, right? I'm a conductor of energy, right? I walk around with pure silver, right? And pure copper, right? And that creates a magnetic field. I wear stones to repel certain energies and to attract others. That is something that we have to get on collectively, because I'm letting you know, with the 5G technology, with the foods that we're eating, people is just, they losing power. And we like, yo, how is the mental health crisis? The fact that man on the road is losing their minds. Out of nowhere, women having wild, crazy mental health issues, being led astray by extra low frequency, ELFs, radio waves, giving you all of these suggestions to live a wayward life, to live a Europeanized, Romanistic, Nordic, Greco-Roman lifestyle. That goes against our natural fibers. I would say to the Mandem in the UK, learn your Moorish history. Even if you don't identify with the Moors, they paved the way. They laid the foundation. Hold your European brethren and your friends and your family members and your loved ones to a task. Make them, you have to give them the truth, because the truth will set you free. You can't be afraid of the truth. And when they receive the truth, they should be deputized to spread that truth.
We should not be in the UK and they don't look up and they don't tip their hats and they don't salute every single melanated person, regardless if you are Moor or not, because if they don't pay homage to the people to put them in a position to where they're at right now, they are not only living themselves in a myth, they want you to live in a false reality, and they want you to only live up to the idea of greatness that they have for you. And
Even in you touching on the Moors, you've touched on the code.
that's right.
Sovereignty.
That's right.
Which is how you separate. You see, an indentured servant is different from a sovereign. In that there's no tax because you're not bound by anything. In that there's no nationality because you're not bound by anything. So you've already started to touch upon a code that can serve African people globally. Now, if you took that common code of common law as opposed to legislative law that Europeans are bound by and those in the Western world to serve Africans, imagine now, because we speak about an African superstate, and that superstate serving the diaspora of an African republic state that is served by common law, started from the kings, which spreads out to the people, and then from the people to the government. Because the people choose which form of governance serves them as opposed to keeps them.
Right. You see, in the UK, we have ADOS in America, American descendant of slaves. So in the UK, there can be more than a reparations movement. There could be a movement back towards your sovereign nature. There could be a movement to challenge what is known as the doctrines of discovery. Because our fight in America, we're going to need the assistance of our scholars, of our intellects, of our intelligentsia in the UK, because the doctrine of discovery, the Intercatera Divina, the papal bulls, they were administered in Europe. This is 1493, 1492. This is the fall of the Moors, the Battle of Alhambra. This is Columbus coming into America. It starts here. This is the Atlantic, this is the Pacific slave trade. So if you're gonna cut the head of the snake, you gotta identify where the head is at. You know what I'm talking about? You can't run down on Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. It doesn't start with them. The whole 1619 project, that's inaccurate. It starts here.
But however, that is again a part of ADOS clarity in defining as a people for a legal case. Because we got to compartmentalize this. This is for a legal case. When you're looking at a people, and even the people at the forefront of that have to identify that they are identifying as a people for a legal case and not separating from the global African. And the funny thing is, the reason you're here today is to link with the entity. We have that common law from a sovereign underwriter who has written this common law for an African republic state. We have a crypto coin, which is birthed in the States from a black tech company. From the toenail to the hair follicle is black. That has also been introduced now to Rwanda, who are exploring a due diligence. So now it is to lodge that in as many African states as possible. So we have the law, we have the coin, because we always ask what it looks like. What does it look like for us? What's our solution look like? Because we keep speaking on them. But what does our solution look like? So we have a currency with a global capacity to be underwritten by assets, gold, tangibles, diamond, and we have a common law to be delivered via kings to the people.
No, and you're on code. You're on your game. You're on your A game, because the policies that we're going to have to enact has to be we have to hold hands globally. Remember the movie Us? Hands across America? Well, hands across the diaspora. We have to operate
the way that our opposition is operating. They are not local. They sent Steve Bannon over here. They got all of their operatives over here working because they're invoking medieval lore. They're invoking the mind state of the medieval times. They're invoking Middle Age, Brexit, and all. They're invoking all that for their sovereignty. So they're usurping your sovereignty in the time. This is dealing with time-space continuums. We're talking about a time in history. Can't decide, oh, I'm going to just wait. No, 2020 is around the corner. This is the time. This is the stars are aligned. We're in a Jubilee year. So the reason why this court case that's being put together has to include the doctrine of discovery and all of the usual suspects is in order to break the spell that religion has on the continent, right? And the Americas, and South America, and Latin America, and the quote-unquote UK, and the rest of Europe. That court that when we are able to show more people the doctrine of discovery, when we're able to reveal what the papal bulls was really about, right? When we're able to tell the true story of Christopher Colombo, whatever they want to call him. When we're able to tell the true story of the Blackamoors, or let's just say the empires or the dynasties of the quote-unquote Almoravids, right? Coming out of West Africa, the Abbasid, the Umayyad dynasty. They still function. You still hear about them today. There's still a lot of stuff going on all around the world. They did not disappear. This quote-unquote history is not necessarily hidden, but they're hiding it from people. So if you're not moving in the truth, if you're not moving in your proper persona, what is your proper persona? Your proper persona is when you came through, they bow down. That's right. When you came through, they paid homage. We are vassals of the state. We're not sovereigns right now. We're vassals. We're conquered people who basically they allowed you to rock, pay rent, pay taxes, stay in line, you know what I'm talking about? Or you will be subject to the rule of law and all of these different, you are the lion. They just had a story in New York City where a sister in the Bronx Zoo, which is across the street from where I domicile, went into the lion's cage and the lion didn't do nothing. It's the lion from Madagascar, you know what I'm talking about? It's a domesticated lion. You're domesticated. You're not primal. You're not in your natural habitat. You're not a lion. You're a domesticated lion. You're Alex from Madagascar. You're the dancing lion. So I don't want to hear all that tough talk. I'm not convinced. It don't move me. I don't buy into that. I don't even want to entertain nobody tough talking because tough people don't talk. They act. They're all about that action. You know what I mean? They're all about that hop. You know, people want to, more honey wine. The curse of our people is we talk too much. I'm even going to stop talking as much and start doing more because, you know, being an orator, something that, you know, my master teachers, Dr. Sabi, Dr. Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemmett, and many others, it's something that I follow because I love what they were able to do with the English language. You know what I'm talking about? But what about the body language? Like, it's time to take things into our own hands and make moves. Make moves don't mean putting your freedom at risk.
Now you reach the critical point. Yeah. And the critical point is, without the initial articulation, you putting your head above the parapet means everybody now seeks you. That's the initial stage. You see, but now you've been recognized. And there are so many dots that have been connected, so many skills and knowledge gaps that are being closed. It's time to now enter the second phase of going into the shadows and operating. You did that. You've attracted those of a similar ilk. And now it's time for those of a similar ilk to be operational in manifesting the institutions that are born out of sovereignty. Now, those institutions we know are going to serve the masses. If I told you I'm going to give you cheaper housing, you're going to fall in line. If I told you your children were going to have an educational curriculum in a building with a superior education that serves them as a people, they'll fall in line. So now why are we still talking? It's now time for those of a similar ilk to fall behind the scenes and be active. Because we've been recognized by the state, we've been recognized by the agents, and now we're ripe for infiltration. But we can't move with people who pop up from nowhere with no history. If you pop up from nowhere, no history, you don't need any money, you're an agent.
That's right. It's the Tekashi 6ix9ine scenario. Apply that to this movement. Apply that to the organizations. And apply that to the streets, that they're putting plants inside of all of these movements who were already compromised. They're not looking for people. They're putting them in your organizations already compromised. It's to my theory that Tekashi 6ix9ine was already a federal informant when he caught the sex charge, back before he was even...
You got to remember, he's infiltrating calcified minds. Now, when you introduce the spiritual component as well, you're dealing with a different caliber of eye that vets everybody around them.
Yeah. Well, when they compromise leaders, when the federal government compromises leaders at custom checkpoints, in courtrooms, at banks and other places where federal agents linger, then you're going to be corrupt. You're talking about infiltration from the top down. Man on probation, parole, man catch court case and just walk out of court. Like, it's all kind of shit going on. I could not even begin.
This is a quick one. Because, we always speak on other people. And I like to speak directly to a man. So let's take you. I know. I'm not asking you. I've studied you. And I watch you with your brother. So I know you're uncompromisable. I also know that through your experience, you ain't walking into no case. You see, as my man offered you a liquor and you say honey wine, you live in a particular way. So if you walk in your talk, it's not for the camera. We're now talking about a different caliber of beast. Now, not all of the guys who are living like this and walking this talk and actually in the lifestyle of their purpose are connected with the bigger picture. So I say this for them to recognize that there is a source to come to. Because we always talk about people externally. Listen, if you're preaching African love and you're chasing white women and you get caught, baby, that's Kurt Cobain. You did it to yourself. So I can't help you with that. If you were tooting and got caught with coke and you were telling us about the healthy lifestyle, Kurt Cobain, you did it to yourself. I'm not talking about him because he's susceptible. There are many who aren't. That's the only people I'm talking to. Remember I said there's a lion in the sand. You can do an impersonation of a lion, but when you get in a pit, we're going to know who's the lion and who's a pussycat.
Even if somebody jumps in your pit, we like, yo, this is a pussycat. Going back to what I said initially, you have to be able to live this thing out. This is a lifestyle. You cannot tiptoe through the tulips and basically, because it's not me looking. You're dealing with the ancestral realm. You're dealing with the spirit realm. We can only see 10% of the light spectrum. You don't know who's around you. You don't know who's looking at you fronting. You don't have no idea the powers that are around in this magnetic field that you encompass. So you should move accordingly. Nobody's perfect. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the lifestyle affords you the opportunity to basically embrace where you're at.
But we should be, as we say, because I drink rum.
That's right. So I'm a very transparent person.
you know, almost to a default sometimes. And I admit my imperfections, you know, but at the end of the day, this life that I'm living is 100% dedicated. You know, I jumped out of the window like a decade and a half ago with no parachute and learned how to fly. So I don't have any choice but to basically walk the walk, talk the talk, and to show people that, you know, that this thing here is not about regurgitating something that you heard on YouTube. Them days are over. We way past that. Now it's time to get yourself written, your name written in the history books alongside the greats because of the work that you put in and the change that you were able to initiate. So I tell everybody this. Just imagine you're in the 20s and the 30s and Garvey just came out. And he just unveiled, you know, the plan for the Black Star Liner. You have the opportunity to be a part of history. History is being written every day. Black America, the world in Black America is steering, is changing. People are being woken up. Woke is the new hustle. The woke marketplace. Look at your favorite rappers. They're cleaning up their previous, you know, they're cleaning up their record by embracing social justice change. The biggest rappers in America, Jay-Z, T.I., Puff Daddy, all of them, they're cleaning up because the wave is so strong that they had to hop on something after that ship was sinking. Streets is dead. Ignorance is dead. It's not cool to be ignorant anymore. You can play with it if you want. You're going to lose the people. And market research shows where the minds of the people is at. So you don't worry about you. We influence. To do what it is that I'm doing right now because the influencers are basically doing the heavy lifting for us. T.I. said sovereignty. Just by him saying that.
People will investigate and it creates...
It's evolutionary, not revolutionary, because we're not going backwards. It's evolutionary. So I don't know if our people are in the art of social engineering. I don't know if our people are in the art of propaganda. I don't know if our people are in the art of subtle programming or what they call predictive programming. But I am. I'm a scientist. So I appreciate the Charlemagnes of the world. I appreciate the Jay-Z's of the world. I appreciate the T.I.'s of the world. I appreciate all of them because I know what to do with that.
Yes. Take it and run forward. Now, one of the points I wanted to touch on is that we're great at being historians, but it's not a time to be historians. It's a time to be historical. We need to now start to make history based on those around us. And one of the things that we have is a lack of value for people who are living. We could take a brother Nipsey. He was living and he was a visionary. And he saw creating your own educational institutions. The fact that tech has created parity across the board. And we always win whenever we have parity. But 100% he was taken out by an agent based on the predictive change they saw a man like that will bring. Hence my point that we talk too much. Phase one is gaining those who will do. Once you've gained those who will do, what does it actually look like where you're going to take them? The black print. The real black print of execution, which is going to link Africa as an African Republic state. That means as a joint super state with increased intra-African trade, where Killmonger are the agents for that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier about the religion, because our people are so damn religious, we become necromancers. What is a necromancer?
similar to a romancer. You make love to the dead. Worship of the dead. The fact that we are looking at dead idols. The fact that we got dead presidents. You know, the fact that we waiting for you to die in order to fuck with you, in order to canonize you and lionize you. And as an ancestor, we can now, you know, and people are nefarious in their necromancy because they'll lionize you, and by lionizing you, now they can manipulate your spirit, your image. I knew him. I knew Dr. Sabi. He said I was the next one. I knew Nipsey. He wanted me to work with him. Here I go. So all of these rappers talk about, I love Nipsey, but how many of them is walking in his footsteps right now? You got rappers saying, I want to get a funeral like Nipsey, but how many of them are funding?
Live like him. And just to speak to this, they could go to MIT tomorrow and find 100 of that brother that Nipsey was working with in tech. They could go to Ghana tomorrow and they could spend their watch money on a tech university where technology creates parity. And where we're now dealing with AI and the increase of AI, why aren't Africa competing in AI that is going to serve the continent and also protect the continent against the adversary of Western AI?
The thing about AI is programming. So Google, right?
They've seen it. They've gone into Africa.
Yeah.
And our greatest minds.
What I'm saying is they're scrubbing the internet of the truth because AI is machine learning. So whatever you feed in Google is programming the AI. So imagine if the diaspora came together as programmers and was able to feed an AI that had black consciousness. And they were able to feed the AI all of the discrepancies, all of the fallacies, all of the illusions in quote unquote the European. What if they were able to feed AI? Hold on. We came up with the algorithm. That was a Moore. Computer language, the zeros and the ones. That's West African. Imagine if you fed the AI that. Imagine if you were able to machine learn at that. They don't want that. They don't want that. So
What our intention is about.
it's definitely about our attention. And like I said, what we're doing right now is building that bridge so those programmers can walk over, because there's no search for a new Nipsey. You don't hear them say that. Oh, wait a minute. We missed out on Nipsey because hip hop don't want to admit that they dropped the ball on Nipsey. You found out about his greatness too late. But as a result of that, nobody said, well, goddamn it, maybe there's another Nipsey out there. Let's look for him. They're not. The brother Idris Sandu, he's supposed to have $100 million in funding by now. Did Jay-Z, fuck the NFL, did Jay-Z sit down with Idris to solve Black America's problems? Because remember, algorithms translates to problem solving. The hackers, what they call a hacker, to hack something is to solve a problem. It's not negative. You got white hats and black hats. So to be a hacker is to hack 99 problems. Did Jay-Z sit down with Idris and give that nigga some money? No. He sat down with Roger Goodell from the NFL and he sat on his lap and he lap danced for the white man. And he lost 80% of the credibility that he was building up in our community.
And Jay-Z's credibility up to that state was impeccable. And I say that as a man who studies my brother, knowing that he's a master in the craft. He's a master in the craft that I study. So I look at the moves And I say you were making life-protecting moves. But now that one there for the NFL was economic. Because if you're really talking about putting the dots together, you could go and find a doctor, Powernomics, Dr. Claude Anderson. You could go and find Dr. Claude Anderson and monetize him with a nominal donation. When I say nominal, compared to what has been going out to these European organizations, you could sit down with 17 million to 17 million?
That, my friend, could have built 3 institutions. For STEM, you know how they got science, technology, engineering, math? He could have built 4 institutions for each one of the acronyms.
So when we speak to this, and that's why I speak about knowing is doing, because you can articulate the sweetest thing with your honey mouth. I watch what you do. And if you cajole us to empower a European agenda, I gotta look at what you're doing. So Jay-Z, through all of his machinations as a master mason, has done great works. Absolutely. And the fact that we just see Farrakhan join the craft in connecting dots. And I'm aware of this lodge, that this is an all-African lodge. He joined the lodge this week. You see, I'm a studier. Now this same lodge is here, which is an all-African lodge. So I study the craft, which is why I speak to you. So, yeah, the dots are being connected. Now when I speak about the coin and the sovereign law, these are things that we want to deliver globally. So now, maybe it's time to stop speaking because we're aware. There's a power base behind our own times.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to add on to the previous statement about the coin is that my brother Nova Felder out of Harlem was just crowned a developmental king in Ghana. So people are making huge moves. We got the shifters in the building. Brother 19 Keys, my brother Blue, like Derek Grace, like there's mega moves. RZA Islam, Brother Ben X, like mega moves. Pop Darby running for of course.
Which you can deliver locally, internationally.
Globally.
System, 100%.
No.
Also the Unlearn and Relearn program. Because he's taken it from the home. I'm a homeschooler.
That's right.
So as a home.
How difficult these curriculums and stuff are.
Well, to be fair, just to speak on that, we can actually do whatever we like. It's just that we lack the curiosity to employ our rights.
And that's exactly what I wanted to say, that what you see with Derek Grace is the difference between reading a book about mountain climbing and mountain climbing. So I could speak from experience. The fear is based in lack. The fear is based in lack. And lack is a part of the illusion. It's a battle that I fight on a daily basis. Because although I'm the red pill, I wake up and gotta take pills to keep myself out of this matrix, because it's omnipotent, it's omnipresent. I'm seeing numbers, it's everywhere. So it does. Well, it's in what did the devil give man? Nothing. It don't pay nothing. But you think that it's giving you something. It's giving you nothing. You're jumping over hundreds of dollars for pennies. You're jumping over pounds for dollars. It don't give you nothing. The devil is giving us nothing. Those contracts that these athletes sign. Later on down the line, when you watch Where Are They Now? It was nothing.
The contracts that the actors are signing for their movies. Black Panther, they got an advance. The shit made $1 billion. Some of them got nothing. The contracts that the rappers are signing that are putting them in contractual slavery, they're getting nothing.
So to speak to that quickly, because even just watching Cube the other day in an interview, who created Ice Cube, who created his own league, where now he's being offered $350 million for his league. And you know what Cube said? Well, if the league is running well, why would I sell it? And then they asked him if he's excited because he's CEO. He said, I prefer you call me a founder and an owner because I can hire a CEO and they change. So now you're understanding the power dynamic. 110%. And we don't look at the power dynamic behind the facade. The facade is bullshit. It means nothing. And the Wizard of Woz, as I call him, behind the curtain, has been exposed. So why aren't we speaking to our brightest and best and just connecting the dots? As a reverse engineer, your job is to deconstruct that which has been constructed and reconstruct it, replacing the personnel, processes, and policies for our interests.
Harkening back in it to what I said before, the illusion of supremacy, the illusion of superiority, the illusion of somebody being greater than you will have you contemplating your meekness. These niggas is trying to figure out how to make 5% off of a 15% pie. They're not bold enough. They don't have the audacity to say, fuck the middleman. I'm going right to the plug. What do you think the whole tariff on China thing, the lockdown on China is? That's Trump saying, I'm tired of you niggas cutting out the middleman. Y'all done figured this shit out with Alibaba and other things, and they're nervous because the facade that you need them is being melted away on a daily basis. You don't need them. They're not your daddy. Get off of their titty and get off of their lap. Get off of Romulus and Remus tits. That's what it boils down to. So, man like Ice Cube finessed the industry. Remember, he was a revolutionary rapper who went and put on a clown outfit. Where Are They Now? In all of these child-friendly movies, accumulated a certain amount of wealth, and then banged them. Byron Allen, the most unsuspecting, unassuming. Boom. He went and stacked his bread, right, to the billions.
And then suing them for 20B and 10B respectively.
I think he just bought like 30 channels the other day. So if you're not owning something, then I know that you don't have the mind state of what it's gonna take to ascend in 2020. Not descend, ascend. I'm an ascendant.
And just to touch on that, you see, they even limit you they will limit you by asking you to become equal. Who the hell do you want to become equal with when you know that the playing field is even, knowing that we surpass them in every single area that we have parity?
Unevenly we do it.
Every single area that we have parity.
The playing field is uneven. And we still, so there's no, equal to who? Equal to what? Once we finish with, this case and we explain what we're dealing with, you will not want to be equal with that. It's no equal. There's no equality. There's a hierarchy. There's natural order. In nature, there's no equality. There's a natural order.
The lion eats the antelope. Not because he's jealous, not because he's got pretty stripes, but because his belly is rumbling. That is nature. Can I devour you? And for us to wrap up here leads us right back to the beginning, in that now you've just brought the point that we're not serving African nature. We were in the position to devour this young lady, and we disobeyed our nature and our starving stomach, and we let her go.
Of course. I mean, nature, you know, which is the expression of the all, the Most High, God, whatever name you want to attribute it to it. I don't like using God because of its etymology. Yeah. Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton, you know. This is the expression, the artistic expression, the quote-unquote intelligent design of something that's greater than you. Consciousness, living and breathing consciousness. And some of us has forsaken that for concrete jungles, you know, trinkets, man-made things, and all of this frivolous stuff. And looking outside of ourselves, most importantly. And that harkens back to what we talk about, the religions. The fact that the religions are debilitating us.
Religion is the first politic to control man and subjugate the proletariat.
Well, it's something, well, in these days and times, that's an easy obstacle to get over. And we serve a community of millions of people on a global scale who have got past that first obstacle. So the focus is to focus on them because that's the power base. We influence others, but we focus on those who are ready to make these moves. We don't have to do any convincing and heavy lifting and deprogramming and quote unquote unplugging of millions. So we already got a power base. Now it's time to organize. We need a global vote. Shout out to Jay Morrison who brought that to the forefront with the black vote. We need a black vote. We need a black tax. Everybody that's a part of this movement needs to pay a tax, if not daily, weekly, to fund our operations on the clandestine and the covert and the overt. We need to fund our warriors. We need to fund our intelligentsia. We need to fund our entrepreneurs. We need to fund our creators and our makers. We need to fund our spiritualists. We need to fund our herbalists. And if you're about that life, you should be willing to pay a tax daily for this whole movement. Because the time of speculation is over. It's operative. It's all operative at this point. So we operate in God and its acronym: governor, operator, destroyer. Generator, operator, destroyer. Gold, oil, diamonds. So we gotta go back to the source. We could turn Africa into China right now. I mean, and we could use the China to do it.
And just for HMP to round up on that, we underestimate the difference between China and Africa. China were warring clans for millennia, and those warring clans had hundreds of dialects, which is just comparable to the African languages. And it took for the will of one man to deliver an agenda which liberated the people, although for the short term it was painful, like all birth is painful. But now that nation is the greatest functional superpower on earth. And the United States is, yeah.
They have the best business model for 100 years in the future.
And that's because there's no democracy. Because you're looking out for the nation. And to put it in perspective, they've taken 300 million people out of abject poverty and put them into working poverty. They've taken 350 million people out of working poverty into middle class in a billion nation country. So speaking to that, Africa is perfectly capable, having all of the resources, but none of the refineries. So rounding up, we can say that we recognize where China is as the greatest superpower on earth. The United States does a great impression. It's like a beautiful blonde dancing around in a brand new dress with shitty underwear. The closer you come, the more you smell it. Very simple analogy. So this been my brother Red Pill. I'm Dino Okai. This is HMPTV.
Oh yeah. I wanna know who you are, because I know who I am. I know we got so many scars, because I felt them on my hands. So we gotta be real about it. We just gotta be strong. Oh, we've had too many fights, we ain't got too long. Oh, until our time is here. Oh yeah, until our time is here. Hey, so no matter what we go through, I know it'll get better, because we got each other. So I know I do it for my sisters, I do it for my brothers, I do it for my mother, because we got each other. So I know our time is here. Oh yeah, yeah, and we don't need any fee, no. And our time has come. Oh yeah, we unite as one, 'cause we got a freedom. We got a freedom.
Even looks like